What's up, my friend? Hope you are doing great. In this video, I'm going to walk you through my story, how I walked from PAM, the passive aggressive man, to become the high value man that is leading in his faith, fitness, family, and finances. And I'm sharing this with you to encourage you, no matter where you are along your journey, to show you that if I can do it, you can do it. There's no special magic secret. It's literally just following a proven process. The 6 V's: vision, values, victories, vice, voice, and vocation. So that you can unlock your purpose, your calling, and you can help and serve and show up for your community, your family, and the world, my friend. All right, so let's get into it. Every hero has got an origin story, and mine is no different. And so, the early years, I was raised by a single mom. I did not have a healthy role model in regards to a father figure growing up. I'm also an only child. And so I had a lot of questions growing up as a young man of what does it mean to be a man? And the places that I looked for that answer was often in the wrong direction. And so even though I had a great, opportunity growing up, my mom did the best she could, working multiple jobs to put a roof over her head. I still struggled with belonging, connection, and building relationships with men. And that really pointed me in a lot of different directions. And I know now, having coached nearly 1,000 guys, that so many guys also suffer and struggle with that. And so some of the questions I'm going to answer in this presentation are exact questions that you might need to answer for yourself as you're walking through your journey to become a high value man. So grew up in San Francisco and then moved to Arizona when I was about 5 years old, and always had this dream of being an entrepreneur, mostly because we ran out of money before we ran out of month. And so you'll see their picture on the left right next to that cute little photo of my Superman shirt, my very first job. And I was selling other kids' toys in the neighborhood, just thinking about ways we could make some money because there's always the pressure and the stress of making money. One thing that my mom did do at a young age is put me in martial arts, and that was always a great second home. I love going to the dojo and training, and so there's a photo of me winning a gold medal after tournament when I was in high school. Excuse me. But it wasn't long after that I faced my very first obstacle, and without good, healthy models as young men, those obstacles can sometimes be very debilitating and take you off track for a number of years. And so, after a tournament or during a tournament, I landed wrong and I blew my knee out for the first time. And so I had a full ACL reconstruction, and it actually happened again later, not long after that. And so 2 ACL replacements before I left high school. And the dreams that I had of being an Olympic level athlete and pursuing the dream of being all in on martial arts were completely shattered. And as I left for college, I didn't really have a whole lot of direction. I just did it because that's what we were supposed to do. And honestly, I wanted to get out of the house. And so I started partying. I started partying like a rock star, joined a fraternity, sought my identity and belonging inside of drinking and chasing women and all kinds of just poor directions. And honestly, I spent about the next 10 years of my life, all the way through my 20s, just drinking, sedating, and partying, and really being that passive aggressive man, passive with my hopes, dreams, desires, passive with my vision, passive with women, passive with work, passive with literally everything. And I wasted 10 years. One of the things I hope that in this presentation that you don't have to waste any time. You can follow a formula, join a tribe, and start creating breakthroughs in your life. I learned the hard way. You don't have to. There was thankfully a turning point. That turning point happened right after my 30th birthday. And I woke up with the worst kind of hangover, realized after looking in the mirror, after a week of partying, that I was the root of all my problems. And so I made a very feeble cry to God. And I said, God, please help me. I was just feeling the worst I'd ever felt. And it was in that season that about a week after that, things started showing up in my life, and I paid enough attention because I was in enough pain. Typically, it takes pain for guys to wake up and realize the direction they're on is not the direction they need to be on. And 2 books showed up in my life. The first book is Emotional Intelligence 2.0. The second book is No More Mr. Nice Guy. And I read both those books. I hadn't read a book since high school. And those books showed me that how I was operating in life was literally creating and causing all of my problems. And that gave me the awareness to start asking better questions. Okay, if this is not the path I want to be on, what direction do I want to do? What are things that I'm good at? And I just started asking questions and being aware of that kind of guiding spirit that is always trying to put us towards a better, more righteous path. Within that year, a couple really great things did happen. I got an opportunity to start teaching boxing at a local boxing gym. And to be honest, the reason I was motivated to do that is because that's where all the girls were hanging out. It's where every Lululemon girl was at. And so I said yes to the opportunity. I hired a bodybuilding coach because I was always a skinny guy. I went from 130 pounds to 165 pounds that year. So I started stacking victories. The victories built my confidence and competence. So I started feeling better about myself, but I was still partying all the time. But there was the very first beginning of the golden thread. The golden thread is what I call of your calling. It's God's whisper that this is the work you're supposed to do, your vocation. And it shows up in the areas that are very easy for you, that bring you joy, excitement, that other people benefit from. And for me, that was the domain of teaching people in fitness. I remember my first client, Carol Rogers. She had the hardest time landing a right punch. She just didn't understand the mechanics of pivoting, turning her hips, and pivoting from her base to get her shoulders into it. We worked on it. And eventually one day she landed it perfectly. She hit that pad. It was like an electric moment. That was the start of the golden thread for me. And it let me know that the path that I'm supposed to be on is teaching, coaching, mentoring, and helping, guiding others. So that was really the turning point. But it wasn't a light switch. It was a dimmer switch. And so I really had to focus on finding more of those moments. And that's where the work began. 2014, almost 10 years ago now, I wrote my very first vision. I wrote it down on a piece of paper. You can see it there on the left. I wrote it with a Sharpie marker, and I basically just wrote down what I wanted. I don't remember how I heard about it, if it was guided by the Holy Spirit, but I just knew that what I wanted was more than what I had. And so I wrote down on a piece of paper the type of life based in fitness, breaking a sweat multiple times a day, meeting a beautiful woman, and being able to enjoy just being physical and active. I started to realize back then that physicality for a man is the foundation to success. You have to build your body if you want to build anything else. My business started to grow. I was teaching at a couple different gyms. We were teaching group classes with 40, 50 people, even 150 people on the weekends. We were doing Sunday fun day workouts. It was so much fun, but I was still partying like a rock star. So I had my Monday through Friday Aaron, but I also had the weekend Aaron that was drinking, drugging, and distracting because I didn't have core values in place. I had activated the vision, but I still didn't have the other steps of the high value man formula. And so I was creating a life of not great success or repeatable success. And so that ended up biting me in the butt. 2015, still living this divided life. On the weekends, partying, but on the weekdays, I was growing this brand of the Fit Beard. I partnered with this gal. She's the blonde here. And we had a company called Beauty and the Beard Fitness, and we were teaching a ton of group classes, having a lot of fun together, really creating an impact through fitness. But the healthy lifestyle wasn't in total alignment. You can also see a big jot of pot. I was smoking pot. I was sedating. I was still drinking a lot, growing another company. And so we had the personal training, group fitness classes, but I also had a food prep company that was doing really well. I had pushed my body to new limits, gone from 135 pounds a couple years ago up to all the way 205 pounds is what I reached during that cycle. Still training, doing the fitness, and loving life, but not in full alignment with the man that you know today. I did, however, have a new vision, and the vision was I wanted to open a gym. Every personal trainer dreams of opening a gym someday. And that is a dream that ended up coming to life at the end of 2015. 2016, opened up my very first gym, Legacy Fitness, a 9,000 square foot fitness mecca right in the heart of Scottsdale. We had jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, boxing, group fitness classes, personal training, and it was a dream come true. My food prep company was growing like crazy. We had a full store. We rented out a kitchen. Classes were amazing, and everything was going really, really good. And I started to learn a very difficult lesson that year. I believed that if I opened a gym and just hired coaches, they would work as hard as I worked, but I knew nothing about leadership and management. And so that lesson would come around to bite me in the butt a couple of years later. I was doing great as a personal trainer. I was making probably 150 grand a year, which was really good for a personal trainer in Scottsdale. And I figured all I needed to do is hire 10 coaches, work inside my gym, and I'd have $1 million business. But I didn't know anything about leading others because I wasn't really leading myself. I was still partying on the weekends. I had this divided life, the Monday through Friday personal trainer, but the weekend party guy. And that ended up coming around and really biting me in the butt. But the gym was open. We were doing well, but still living very much a divided life. 2017, I hit another big roadblock. On the left there, you can see that picture with me in the mirror. My quads are very different sizes because I had my third ACL replacement, and the stress of running the gym had started to creep up. And so between the surgery and running a gym, realizing that I knew very little about leading others, managing others, marketing, sales, running a gym, I'd always just been a one-man show being a personal trainer. But now I had a staff of a dozen men and women working for me, and I had to learn everything from sales, marketing, funnels, gym operation. And man, that stress really started to take a toll. And so the body that I built ended up completely disintegrating. I was drinking more, I was smoking more pot, I was living that divided lifestyle, and it actually ended up creating a whole bunch of other stress. For one, I stopped respecting the man in the mirror. In 2017, I got to the heaviest I ever got. I got to about 215 pounds, and I was fat and fluffy. I was ashamed of myself. I wore extra large shirts to hide the body that I built. I didn't really want to actively engage in the training that I was prescribing my clients. Plus, I was now also split focus. There were feelings that were developing with my partner, the blonde in the photo, and the relationship that I had previously had a vision for ended up disintegrating because I wasn't leading at home. And so I broke up with that girl, and Taylor and I ended up actually getting together a little bit later in the year. But I didn't have core values. And one of the core tenets of the 6V formula, vision, then core values. You have to have core values because your vices will come up around and end up distracting you, taking out purpose. Because I didn't have a formula, because I didn't have core values, my lifestyle was being run by my feelings and my vices and not a set of principles and process. And so 2017, even though there was success in the gym, it ended up coming around and creating a massive failure for my entrepreneurial journey. And in 2018, right, as everything was starting to climb, I started getting my body back in great shape. The gym was growing, but I had not put into practice the principles and the process of being a good leader inside of business. And so later in 2018, I actually closed the gym. And this was the hardest time for me. I felt ashamed. I felt full of guilt. I felt like a massive failure. I'd spent so much time, effort, and money. My reputation was on the line, but I had to make a really hard decision because we had just increased so much debt. We had a ton of trainers and coaches. We were unable to pay rent, and it all fell on my shoulders because I just did not do a good job leading, managing, selling, marketing, and doing the things that a business owner really needed to do. Frankly, I didn't know how to do those things, and I didn't know how to ask for help. And so when we closed the gym, I had to ask a very difficult question. Am I really cut out to be an entrepreneur? And if I am, how can I learn how to do better across the domains that are going to really drive a business? Sales, marketing, leadership, management, copywriting, all the aspects that you need inside of a business. And so once I closed the gym, I did some soul searching, and I figured I got to learn how to do this, and I have to learn in a way that's really going to teach me so that I can take it to the next level. Something showed up on my social media. One of the accounts I was following, Bedros Keuilian, if you know him, he is a serial entrepreneur. He's a founder of a fitness franchise called Fit Body Bootcamp based out of California. He had over 1,500 franchise locations at the time, and I took a chance. I reached out to him based on a post he had, and I said, man, if you'll just allow me to put my foot in the door, I think I'm a shoe-in for the position, and I'll put my best foot forward. I'll learn everything. And so I sent him a boot. You can see the photo there on the right. me and Bedros in front of his elevator in California. I sent him a boot, got an interview, got the job, and I said yes to an opportunity in California. I close up shop in Arizona, take a chance on this and learn from one of the best through immersion, and hopefully take that opportunity and really grow from it. So 2018, I left Scottsdale, Arizona, moved out to California, packed up. And that season of gym ownership, even though it was difficult and hard, I had to make some tough decisions. I said yes, went out there and started a whole new life in California. And it's been nothing but growth since then. 2019, moved to California, and I was charged with launching a supplement business. He had the fitness franchise, he had the money, he had the funding, but he needed a guy to be boots on the ground and help him launch a supplement company. I knew nothing about it. He knew that. I just needed to figure it out. FIO became one of my core values. Figure it out. So I moved to California on a budget. There's a photo there in the center of an air mattress and an empty apartment. And that's where I slept for the first almost 6 months because there was no other money than the very small salary that he started me on. But I just soaked it up. I worked out, I exercised, I soaked up, I read so many books, listened to podcasts. I took advantage of the amazing opportunity that he gave me. And within that year, grew Truline from a no-name company. We didn't even have a name for it yet. No supplements. We manufactured, fulfilled, formulated all of them, set up the distribution, and grew it from zero to multiple seven figures within that first year. And then within that year, Bedros and I developed a great friendship. And through working out, just started talking about what men need to become great men. And for me, it's the foundation of physicality. You got to be able to build your body. That builds your confidence and your competence. I had seen that over the years. When I built my body, I felt better about myself. Fitness teaches you the discipline to be able to execute in any other domain. It gives you the self-belief that you can truly take on new things. So fitness became a staple, a core value for me. And I also realized that the way that men learn is through immersion, spending time with other men. To become a great man, you have to spend time with great men. And so we're sharing this through a workout. And we came up with the idea for a 75-hour experience called The Project. We just literally drew it out on a napkin, and God pointed us in the right direction. He already had the network, and a handful of other men started showing up in our lives. One, a Navy SEAL, Ray Kashkar, a U.S. Marine, Steve Eckhart, and a former U.S. SWAT operator, Matt Schneider. And so we were the original 5 instructors that created the project, and we launched the project that year, a 75-hour personal development experience for men out in California. And we launched Class 1. And that was the moment that was defining for all of us. It was the moment where we realized exactly what we're called to do. We're here to serve, build, mentor, train, and develop men. And men is the path. If you build a better man, you build a better family, better community, better state, better city, better country, better world. And so the path of the project showed us what our vocation was, the 6V in the High Value Man 6V formula. 2020, we all know what happened in 2020, where the rest of the world slowed down and shut down. We sped up, and we had to, because I was now running the project and Truline, but I also figured out what my calling was, my purpose. And so it went into overdrive. I ran my very first marathon on January 1st, New Year's Day, and fitness had become a core value. And so stacking and doing hard things was just something I did. I ended up running 2 more marathons that year, competed in a blue belt jiu-jitsu tournament. You can see in that middle photo there, I actually tore my bicep during a tournament and still won that round, ended up getting second place in the tournament. But the mission had to continue. The greatest lesson I learned in 2020, that the mission continues no matter what. And so even though I had a torn bicep, I still ran the marathon that I committed to. Even though I had a torn bicep, I still taught the project classes that I committed to, because the mission continues no matter what. That lesson carried over into everything else, because I knew what my vocation was, my calling and my purpose, to serve and to build men. We pushed on no matter what happened. And during Project Class 5, we actually had a gentleman pass away. We found out later that he had an enlarged heart, and the suffering and the struggle, and just I think the burden of the experience ended up putting too much stress on him, and he died. And it was a hard time for all the instructors, a hard time for the candidates. And even though it was difficult, we had a choice to face. After that project class, we sat around a round table and we said, is this something we're going to continue doing? Because we know that the project bringing men together, we know that men are desperately in need of fellowship, of friendship, of connection, of belonging, of tribe. We know that we had to continue. We went back to the drawing board, and from that project class, we realized that there's another way to also help and serve men, and that's through helping and serving younger generations. And so we birthed another business called the Squire Program, a father and son rite of passage to guide them through the experience that so many boys need desperately and are not getting. And we realize if we can help a younger generation, we can help the future generation. So now I'm a part of 3 companies that are all doing 7 figures: the Project, Squire Program, and Truly Nutrition. But I realized wholeheartedly that I'm here to help and serve men. And so the vision, the process for the High Value Man company started coming to life, and the formula is being practiced and taught inside of these courses: vision, core values, stacking victories, overcoming and mastering your vices, understanding the voice in your life so that you can unlock your vocation. 2021, it comes around and everything's in high gear. The Project, Truly Nutrition, the Squire Program, and I start getting back into what I know that I'm truly great at, which is helping men create breakthroughs inside of their fitness. And so I launched another company at the end of 2021 called Battle Ready Fitness. Battle Ready Fitness is focused on helping men equip themselves with fitness, nutrition, and mindset. It's integrated into the Project, into Squire Program. We're teaching multiple classes of Squire and Project throughout the year. Truly is growing and scaling. Doing hard things just became something that I did. And so the marathon became a standard every single year. Now I'm running ultra marathons, pushing my body to new limits, getting in the best shape of my life, because fitness is the foundation to create breakthroughs in any domain. Without fitness, there's nothing else. As a man, you got to build your body to build everything else. And so I'm doubling down on those disciplines, and the formula is becoming super clear, and I'm starting to create a new vision for my life. For the first time in my entire adult life, because of the men that I was spending time around, I realized that I want to be a father. And so the vision got implanted because of the men that I was spending time around, seeing that I didn't have to recreate the pain that my father figures gave to me, that I could in fact create a vision, craft core values, stack victories, and become the man that the world needed, become the man that I needed. And so I wanted to be a dad. I wanted to be a dad, and I knew that there was going to be a season where I was going to step into fatherhood. And it was only because of spending time around great men that I realized that I could also become a great man to become a great father. And that was one of the greatest gifts in this season of working with and working for Bedros and the team. After 2021 wrapped up and I knew that I wanted to be a dad someday, I realized that the family aspect of the 4Fs, so faith, fitness, family, finances, is an area that I really wanted to focus on and find some great models for. And I also left me with a really big question in regards to faith. And faith had been something that I had been orbiting around, circling around, and always had a spiritual practice: meditation, breath work, a scripture, reading and understanding that I am connected to a higher power, but I never had a real blueprint for faith. And so as I started asking more of that question, and honestly, after class 5, when the gentleman passed away, I realized that this is such a short sprint we have here on life, and there is this eternal aspect that I don't have the answers for. Nobody does. But I wanted to really find a better blueprint for my own faith. And again, God shows up in mysterious ways, and he showed up with a woman at the end of 2021, and she asked me a really difficult question that I didn't have an answer for. She said, "You seem to know a lot about the Bible, but have you ever read it?" And I said, "No." She said, "You seem to know a lot about Jesus, but have you ever tried to develop a relationship with him?" And I said, "No." I don't like losing, arguments or discussions. And so in that season, I also started reading the Bible and bringing Jesus into my meditation. I had a massive shift of heart. And I would say is the foundation of where my faith has really been built over the last few years. And so faith went all in on that and started to really re-clarify the vision, core values. But everything was starting to become more clear. The path to becoming a high value man truly maximizes and lives out these four aspects, these four F's: faith, fitness, family, and finances. And so stepping into 2022, now part of multiple companies, the Squire program, Battle Ready, the Project, True Lean at the start of the year, and the High Value Man company had just started to kick off. And I had to make some tough decisions because I realized that I don't have enough time to do everything, on top of staying on top of my fitness and the relationship and everything else I wanted to do. So I made some tough decisions to step out of the companies that I had been a part of the previous years. And so stepped out of TrueLean, stepped out of Battle Ready, stepped out of Squire program, stepped out of the Project, all companies that I built. But knowing that I was going to take all the lessons and learning from leadership, management, marketing, sales, and pour them into my own company, the High Value Man company, and make faith the primary foundation of that pillar. So faith, fitness, family, finances, and to deploy the curriculum that I have been practicing and trying over the last few years that we had been teaching inside of the programs, and actually make it my own. And so launched the High Value Man company. And within that first year, dude, just record success. Hit seven figures with that first year, brought over 150 guys into the High Value Man company. Things really started to kick off, and I was able to really practice the principles based on what I learned, but also do it in such a way where we put God first and foremost. And so all the lesson learning coming into the High Value Man company, and it's been nothing but greatness since then. 2023, all in on the HVM movement, moved out to Texas because I realized that just like everything else that I had learned in life, I learned through immersion, surrounding myself with men that had what I wanted. And the type of man that I want to become in regards to being a father and a husband is a God-fearing Christ follower that puts faith first. And so the community out here in Texas and the church at Elevate Life and the Mighty Men movement has those men where previously, although I had so many great mentors and models in fitness and in business, they weren't marriages that I really wanted to follow. They didn't have the relationships that I truly wanted to follow the template that they had. But when I got into the church and I saw that when you put God first and you put your faith first and you truly surround yourself with men that put biblical masculine principles as foundation for how they do business, life, and everything else, you can have a great relationship. And so I chose to move to Texas, left California, and have been immersing myself in the community of Elevate Life Church and the Mighty Men movement, and everything has continued to grow. So now the principle of faith feels to be something that I have very good roots in. The principle of family, I've got great men around me, especially my partner in business now, Josh Lashua, whose wife and him run a marriage and counseling company called Same Team Forever. He's a great template and model for masculinity, but a model for how to be a great godly husband and father. The principle for fitness has been something I've been practicing, and the discipline is something that I teach my guys. And the principles of finances is something we continually grow on, all through the 6 V's, starting with a powerful, clear, and compelling vision, designing your life based on core values so you're not defaulting, stacking consistent victories to build your confidence and competence so you can overcome your vices and live the life that you're designed to, not distracted, but designed. Uncover and discover the voice in your life so you can be the voice for others, so you can ultimately live out your vocation. That's what every man is called to do. Live your vocation in such a way so that others want to follow in the footsteps that you're leaving. This is the core principles of the High Value Man movement. And over the last 2 years since we've launched it, We've served nearly 200 men through the program, and it has been such a blessing seeing all of the struggles and the suffering that I've walked through actually come to life through a followable process. See guys live out their fitness, their faith, their family, and their finances in ways that their family's falling behind. Guys like Adam Lloyd, he's been a one-on-one coaching client now for the last year and a half, and he's followed the 6V formula, broken free of his passivity, become a high-value man, and is now on path to becoming the very first high-value man certified coach. Guys like Troy that have ran marathons and ultra marathons and Ironmen have stacked victories to overcome his vices, to become confident and competent so he can help and lead and guide others. Guys like Brian Ingram, that are scaling his personal businesses, coaching business, but also leading his family like he never led before because he has a process to follow, accountability to hold him to a higher regard so he can be the example at home. Guys like Lauren Chai, who's been with the High Value Man movement since the very beginning, broken free of his passivity, making more money at work, creating clarity of vision, leading his family, running marathons and ultra marathons and Spartan races. And the list goes on because we're creating men that are creating missions inside of their household, inside of their families, that are actually leading in such a way that others want to follow behind. And I could go on and on with this list. And I hope you get to know some of these guys inside the tribe here. But the biggest goal of the High Value Man movement is to create 10,000 high value men that are leading in their faith, fitness, family, and finances. Because I believe wholeheartedly the man that has clarity of vision, living by core values, stacking consistent victories, he's going to impact a minimum of 1,000 lives throughout his lifetime. And those 1,000 lives are going to have a ripple effect on the world. And so 10,000 men strong in the next 10 years, that's the mission and the vision for the High Value Man movement. But the only way that happens is when men like you decide to say yes to following a principle, process, stacking wins, overcoming vices, and becoming the example that others want to follow. You become that high value man, and I promise you're going to have a great effect on all those around you. And the coolest thing about this is I want to give it to you all for free. And so this is the High Value Man free community. And inside this community, you're going to have access to the core curriculum. You're going to have access to a weekly group call where you get to show up, ask questions, meet some of the other men inside the program, walk through the vision, values, victories, vice, voice, and vocation formula. Start creating followable excellence in your life that others can literally follow behind, and start to create some massive results so that we can create an impact and a movement that really impacts and changes the world. And your first step, my friend, is to first know where you are. And so you can't start a journey without knowing first where you are. And so you're going to take the gap map, which is the next module in here, go through that process, get a really clear picture of where you are across your 4Fs: faith, fitness, family, finances. Figure out which domain needs the most amount of attention, start working on that, and applying the principles of the 6V formula to start creating some results in your life. If you fall in love with the process, fall in love with the coaching, and realize that you want more, there is a premium version of this, and it's very affordable. It's just $197 a month. And you join on in, you get access to another group call, which is our Wednesday morning men's call. And inside that group call, you're going to be led on a deeper level. You're going to get some weekly stretches. You're also going to have an opportunity to get some one-on-one coaching inside that as well. But if you want to just do the free program, follow through. You don't have to spend an entire decade wondering, wishing, and wanting. You can learn from the mistakes that I made, apply the principles and process, and get massive results inside your life. So your next step, my friend, take the gap map, take a screenshot of it, figure out which domain needs your most attention, and then start applying the 6V formula to that domain. All right, that's it for now. Much love, many blessings, and I'll talk to you soon. Boom.